like kind of trying to touch on like how with the role, it's not a case of, because just keep hearing it, you know, increasing the homeless population, attracting the homeless, and what is being done that, you know, that contradicts that doesn't support that. That you can say, hey, we're doing this, so that's not also what is happening.
Yeah, when you take a step back at the bigger picture, you can see these patterns of like, oh no, we're doing pretty good at Payson. Do I need headphones or just?
All right, and that's Buddy Holly right here on KRIM 96.3 FM. Chris Higgins in the studio. We're starting the community spotlight a little bit later today, but still going to have the program, and we're going to be talking to Skylar Bryce with the Warming Center, New Directions, and Payson Homeless and Homeless Veterans Initiative. And so we'll be talking to him, but hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday, enjoying the nice weather, all this fog, the low clouds. Been talking to people around town, and a lot of people are liking just the different weather. It's going to be getting a little bit colder here, though, as the week continues, and maybe we'll even get a little bit of snow. Hey, that'd be nice. Well, again, this morning we have Skylar Bryce in the studio. Good morning, Skylar.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I am all right. I'm not a morning person, but today I'm doing pretty good.
Hey, there you go. I know mornings, especially yesterday morning, I tell you what, I think with just all the fog, the weekend, it definitely felt like a Monday just in the beginning of the day, and as the day went on. But yeah, it's good today. Yeah, it's going better.
Yeah, I'm glad we have moisture. We're not having any fire risks.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a downside and an upside to anything. Everything in life has trade-offs.
Yeah.
So
oh, yeah.
I prefer much more to have the rain than to have fires. So.
Amen to that. I know. Dealing with the moisture, like you said, it presents different challenges and different issues, but one of them is not fire. So that's a good thing. That is a very good thing.
Yeah, the backbone wasn't very fun for us. We got the Red Cross contract from that, and so now if there is another evacuation in Northern Gila, the Warming Center houses the first 140 to 160 people, while everybody else gets their things in order.
Wow.
Because we're available and open at the drop of a hat, so because of that, we're able to respond first.
Yeah, you're already set up. It's already established, and so you can bring people in right away.
Yeah. And we do dinner every single night. There's meals catered in from local places like the Pizza Factory and the Legion Outpost. They bring in a meal at least once a week, and lots of community members. So I guess we give a quick rundown on what we do at the Warming Center, and just start at the beginning, or where would you? Yeah,
that's what I think for people that, again, maybe haven't heard programs that you've done before, being in here with all of the organizations that come in, we like to, start out with your role, your mission, what you do, services that are provided, and so on. So that would be great.
Yes. So our 501c3 is the Payson Homeless and Homeless Veterans Initiative. And our two programs are the Warming Center and New Directions. New Directions is the case management, more long-term and intensive part of the programming. That's also the newer part of it. Warming Center is every single night. There's a meal served, a hot meal. There's pantry, which means a food pantry and clothing and basic accessories, toiletries. We're trying to just keep people's costs down. And we also very often have basic housing items for people who are moving into a house. So we're really trying to keep people in their homes. That's first and foremost. So if they're going to be falling behind in rent, it's much easier to keep someone in a house than get them back into one. So the fancy terminology is continuum of care. And it just means we're trying to our best to prevent homelessness and then respond as quickly as we can to it. Because of the way we're set up.
I was going to say, and there's other organizations that you work with that also provide aid, like CAP.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, different places that you can point people as well. So if they come to you or you are put in touch with somebody, then, like you said, that's one of your goals is to try and prevent that.
A warm handoff. So that's a jargon that's been around for a little while now, but I actually love the methodology behind a warm handoff. So what we've done now is there's the homeless task force, there's the Gila County, there's a just the northern Payson area homeless task force as well. Those are through the Community Action Program, which is a government-led program. If we get into the data later, we can talk about why they are so important. But they are the .gov part of it. All of their emails have .gov. It gives them access to that type of credentials, which means they're able to verify the data that's given. That is really important because in 2016, I say this data quite often, but in 2016, there was only 6 homeless people found in all of Gila County for the point in time count. That was drastically away from the reality, but because of the way the data is counted and driven to make sure that they're not double counting people, it was essentially hamming them in so hard we can't even find them or get the numbers done. So when the feds looked at our county and saw, oh, we're doing really good. We don't have only 6 homeless people. You guys are doing great. That wasn't really the case. It's been in the hundreds. I think by 2017 we had it in the 116. And now because of that data actually being shown, that's my main goal. And through the Community Action Program, I'm glad you shouted them out, we have set up a network of MOUs, so Memorandums of Understanding, between all the different agencies. So my best example would be the Payson Christian Clinic. Every Monday now, we now have their medical students. They have, I believe it's 9 medical students and 2 physician's assistants, so 11 students from ASU who work under Dr. Hunt through the Payson Christian Clinic. And they are able to come into the center and take people in right there. Without insurance, it doesn't matter. Get them primary care, get them plugged into the system, and get them trusting again. The main mission of the Warming Center and our initiative is just encouragement. There are other people doing these things. That's why we needed this network of memorandums of understanding. We don't want to double down or start up a program that another community member is already putting their energy into. So at the Warming Center, most of our volunteers volunteer at other places. So that's kind of the key. And I believe Just Serve now has an app, and they're putting a lot of the community nonprofits that need help on there. So you can go to, I think it's justserve.org, and you can search the Payson area for all the places that are, we're on the same boat, so we all want to start rowing in tandem. And that does take one person not rowing and just saying, row, row, and if you're looking out from the outside, that person seems useless, but that person's actually coordinating all the efforts. Another shout out I'd like to give is the community members who, Jenny and Carla, I believe, who run the Payson and Star Valley Community Gardens. They did that tent drive, and they did phenomenal. We got literally over 6 tons of donations. So lots of sorting. We got lots of more volunteers coming in for that, and it's really trying to prevent people from dying. Our last death from exposure was right in 2016, and our goal, we haven't had any in our service area since then.
No, that is, and yeah, that's great. It's great to be able to provide a facility where people can, hence the name, stay warm through the winter.
In a connection,
and then everything else that's associated with that. But I believe it starts with first shelter. If someone needs shelter, providing that shelter, and then going from there.
Police and ER drop-offs we also get. So all of dispatch for the whole county has my personal number. I also do trainings, and I'm in the mental health world. I'm the vice president for National Alliance on Mental Illness for the state, which is the largest grassroots nonprofit in the country. And that's education, support, and advocacy for mental health. And we are doing as best we can to get those programs running. We now have a building on Arrow, and I think Patty Wisner spoke about it somewhere, and if not, we should get her in here about that. And trying to get all these different pieces set up. There are no mental health beds, so I'll try not to get boring with numbers, but I think that these are just so powerful that it's really nice to know. Most of these side effects are overlapping. We were at the town hall, quite a lot of us, and the town hall Arizona came through. The topic this year was drug use, suicide, and homelessness, if I remember correct. And talking about these the way that these things overlapped, as soon as someone in your household committed suicide, it maybe destabilized the funding, then they were dropped into homelessness, and then they started using drugs. Completely opposite from the story most people thought was the cause. It didn't matter. All of those effects led one to the next, and once you have two or three, it's really hard to get out of that cycle. Our goal right now is to really prevent those deaths. So Gila County, sadly, is number one in deaths of despair and suicide and overdose right now out of the Arizona. That's mostly because, looking back, our data was not being properly recorded. And that is no one's fault. It's simply the way the systems work. You're working with federal systems for people who live in Washington, D.C. and have never been to Arizona, know nothing about Gila County's history and about the Pleasant Valley War and about how ornery some of the people here are and just how happy they are to be self-sustaining. And they don't understand what those words mean. So they say the word sustain in that language, and they think they're talking to us when they come here, but then they're talking to ranchers who have lived on this land and not needed anybody's help for generations. Those are different ways of sustaining yourself. And that culture clash is something that Payson is hopefully going to be coming to grips with, because that's a huge dynamic. We had mentioned a little bit before about the way people are perceiving homeless. They're seeing more now. I would also mention that I'd like to really mention that if you look at the numbers, people are leaving major cities, like a lot. Unbelievable, especially youth, 35 and under, are leaving major cities across the country. They're not going to other major cities. They're going to rural America, which is us. So, there's a lot of data behind the scenes that sadly just people don't know. Another thing in Gila County, because of those numbers going back where we had such bad data, we don't have the mental health beds at all. There are no mental health beds in all of Gila County. So the closest you have to a 72-hour mental health treatment is someone like me, putting you in the bunk, getting you well fed, letting you sleep for 2 or 3 days, and determining if you're in psychosis or if you're actually just deprived and in hysteria from physical deprivation. And you can only tell that after patience and dealing with a lot of energy. So,
and I think going back to that town hall, you're right. I believe the one area was suicide and mental health, just mental health overall, because ultimately, if they're mental health, if you're suffering from mental health issues, then it can lead, if it goes as far as to having no hope or total despair, then it definitely can lead to suicide. And so it's addressing and having the programs, having resources devoted to mental health to be able to, like you said in the beginning of the program, it's much better. It's much better. It's much easier, and it's better if you have somebody that's in a home, they're struggling to stay in the home, and you're able to connect them with people and programs to keep them in their home. And then they get, things going again, back on their feet, they get back on track, and, they're on their way. But they just needed that help, that encouragement, just all of those things. I view mental health the same way, where you have somebody that's struggling with depression, struggling with an addiction, something, a loss of a loved one, separation, something significant changes in their life, and they're at that place mentally where they need encouragement, they need some help. And I think physically we have those places established, the hospitals, or where they go to a clinic, or where they go somewhere and physically they can get the help they need for a bad back, a hurting arm or leg. But when it comes to mental,
and stigma's involved now, all sorts of stuff. A thing that's really good to know, if anybody's has a SMI, seriously mentally ill loved one, they probably got mail recently talking about their insurance changing over. Nothing was supposed to change in their policies, but Mercy Care, they have had control of Maricopa since I believe 2014. They recently got the contract for Pinal County and Gila County. So this rollout was in October. I was up at October at midnight, waiting right at 12 to 12:01 and watched the rollout with everybody. And it was the most seamless rollout we've had ever, which is probably just because we had Chief Lassard and some amazing community members who was really, really working hard at this.
Mm-hmm.
That rollout allows us to now, for mental health, use all of the facilities and all of accessing Maricopa County. There used to be a runaround that many people have heard where they'd go to Globe because it's the capital, and then they'd be told to go to Mesa, and then Mesa would say, "You're from Northern Gila, why are you here? You should have gone north." And it was this endless circle where when you're just wanting help, being told you're doing the wrong thing can really, if you're not a very, it just makes it much worse, especially if you're already in trauma. And so dealing with those pipelines and having those new things coming out, our town now has to, not just our town, but our whole area. I believe it's about 16,000 people more or less in Payson, but there's 24,000 people that the Homeless Initiative serves. That's roughly Northern Gila County, more or less, down to kind of Tonto Basin-ish. In that service area, there is still lots of desperate ways of living. So that's another issue that needs to just be kept in mind, because our service area is not only Payson, and we're trying our best to integrate and get the communities back together. Gaisila is a perfect example. It's very close. Some of the people in Gaisila have never been to Phoenix, Arizona. There are people who lived their entire lives, who are in their 40s or 50s, have never been to Phoenix.
Wow.
So just when you, it's wow. If you drove them there, they would just be astounded. They've never seen, they would think that's a skyscraper. And it's like, no, that's like a mini skyscraper. That's like a third as tall as they get. So it would be very difficult for, and here's someone who lives right down the hill from you.
Yes.
It's not like they're...
And probably 70 miles from Phoenix, 70, 80 miles from Phoenix. Yeah.
But it's never been in their purview. It's never been in their goals. There's a new definition. I'm going to have to kind of go with it a little. I'm not reading it, but it's something about a technical definition for psychopathology, which is how you determine a mental illness. We're talking now about putting someone in a mental health facility, something like that. You need to be very careful with the verbiage. You don't want to just be able to let anybody get put in these. But persistent acute dysfunction is the terminology used now. And persistent acute dysfunction, it hasn't been enforced yet, but it used to be only if you are a danger to yourself or others, are we able to get you in a 72-hour hold and maybe get you in a Section 1, we put down in the mental health facility in Phoenix. Not a fun thing. But for some people who are actually unable to quote, live, it is a better option. The other option is they're going to die. The newer definition of this has to do with an inability to move towards your goals, and when you are unable to move towards your goals, if you're unable to either come up with new strategies or come up with new goals, and you are stuck in the pursuit of a goal you cannot get, that is when we can determine psychopathology. You're in a mental illness, which is a very strange way to determine things from the outside going in. However, that is why we ask friends, most of the time when you're putting someone in a mental health hold, something like that, we try to have two people who know them and see, is this their normal behavior? What were they normally like? Those type of things are coming to the area, and the laws that are affecting the major cities are also starting to bleed into rural America. And so that's another major reason that we're going to be seeing different shades of folk coming through. Many of the people who panhandle never come into the warming center. I'm very strongly against giving people who are panhandling money. Offer them food, offer them water, offer them services, tell them where to go. Most of the time, if you are giving people money on the side of the road, it is going to either an alcohol store or a drug dealer. It's just the way it is.
Yes.
And if you want to help, donate to Time Out or to New Beginnings or to us. Donate to somewhere where they're actually doing help. Because you need to encourage these people who are at despair, and there are a lot coming to Phoenix or from Phoenix right now through our area.
Yes,
So,
and let them know if really there is, and I know there's a lot of caring people in the community. They care, they're concerned, they want to help. Know about these different programs like New Directions, the Warming Center, TAP, different programs have that information and be able to, and there's documents, there's
we have
handouts.
we have a little business card that has most every one of the referrals I have. So Community Bridges, Southwest Behavioral Health, the numbers that I call when I call them, which I call them a lot.
Yes.
It's on my card is the correct one, because sometimes you go online and it gives you a Mesa
updated.
number.
Yeah.
There's always a glitch. So if you come to the center, one of the first things you'll see when you walk in is just a wall of information, and that's pretty much all the community involvement that we can get. And then if you ask for the card, there's hundreds of them. We'll give you as many as you'd like.
So that's a great suggestion for people that feel led to give money to someone that is panhandling because they want to help. They sincerely want to help. Go to the Warming Center, get some of these cards, have them on you, and like Skylar said, if you have bottles of water or some food, granola bars or anything that is easy to hand out. And do that, you're really helping. You're truly helping. And even if the person, if you don't believe or it doesn't look like they might have an addiction or they might be going to buy alcohol or go get drugs, you just don't know. And just the numbers and the statistics are so high that it's the reality. And so by giving that information, then they have a much better chance of getting the help and assistance they really need instead of just money.
Going back to what they're used to. My favorite model of addiction is from a man named Mark Lewis, and it talks about you are an agent and you're in a world that's an arena, and essentially as your addiction grows, what you see is that the options in the world become less and less and less, and the options that you can grow into become less and less and less until you are an addict and you go out to get your fix. You're completely addicted. They don't see the ability for growth. So one of the saddest things is determining how to help people. One of the things that I've learned to do is if someone's able to articulate what they need help with, they're very likely lying to me. And they may not even be doing it consciously. They may be actually mentally unfit and be lying to themselves more than me. But very often the people who are in actual dire straits are unable to even see their actual need. So on our intake, for example, we have a safe landing program, and on our intake we ask the question, where have you lived? What's your address? We ask it 3 times in 3 different ways, which can be kind of rude. I'm asking a homeless person, what's your address? And then asking, where'd you stay for the last time for more than 90 days? And then it's all, not all the time, but very often I'll get 2 or 3 different answers on each of those things. Because they're very slightly worded differently. Because the first one's just like a normal intake, just says address. I don't put any preface on it. When the people fill in those second ones, very often we find the community that they're going to be plugged back into. A Greyhound can get them across the country. It's for like $70 sometimes. I can get you all the way across the country. So it's $20 in gas to get you to the Greyhound station, and $70 plus $100. And we got this person out of our community, and not just out of our community, into a community that they can belong. That's not just kicking the can down the road. We're trying our best, and we also, if they do that, they're no longer eligible for services. Like we're doing this as best we can, but that type of program has really, really helped. And many of the calls I get from people who are doing well are the people now plugged in elsewhere in the country.
And want to point out that is a big part of the program, and you do that happens quite often. That happens, quite often, to where you discover, you're able to find out where the person's home community is, where they came from, whether that was just a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a few years ago, but there's family in that area, and to get them back into that community probably gives them the best chance of getting better.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, one of my favorite examples, we had a lady call her mom, and her mom, when it was her, sounded super upset and then started crying, and then the sister started talking on the phone and had to let her know, our mom has a restraining order on you right now. And to look at this woman's face while she's finding out she's not welcome at her home right now, her mom has a restraining order against her. She didn't even know that. She ran away from all her problems. And then her mom said, if you go to a treatment or something, then I'll take the restraining order down. I'd love to have you home. Please come home. But it was like, those are levels of complication that you need someone to just be encouraging and loving and not judgmental during that. Everybody's going to be judgmental. You can at least, you can't help by your thoughts inside. You can at least try your best to be as nice as you can. And you never know the situations people are coming from, especially right now. We've had people I recognize come through the warming center not doing well. We've had many nurses, many very high professional people who have had to put costs and assess their lives and have to really determine, like, maybe I need to go to the food bank at the warming center. They just come in and get basic beans and basic stuff and eat the warm dinner. But everyone is welcome for the hot dinner. We serve about 25, right now it's up to about 35 a night, but up to 50 meals, 75 meals a night. Especially when we have a bunch of kids come through, they'll come back and get 3 plates. So real quickly, we are serving a lot of meals, like teenagers. And we're open 365, and that's definitely the consistency. Sometimes I'm the intake person, and they see some 30-year-old guy with long beard and flip-flops, and they just want to give me the info and walk away. And the next time they come in, maybe it's Jim or it's Will, it's a veteran who's wearing his Just Mag hat or his Purple Heart. And the guy will just spill the beans. And other times it's a little lady doing intake with me, and she's a nurse, she's tough as nails, but her demeanor, she comes across like a sweet, nice lady, and people just spill the beans to her. Also at the dinner table, very often during the conversations, because we have an actual pass the salt, pass the pepper dinner table, in that conversation will spark what someone can do. Get connections. People who have a room to rent, just come to the warming center, have a couple dinners. Almost half my people need a place to go and have money. There's just nowhere to rent. So if you're looking for someone who needs to just rent a room or something, you can get to know them before you can come have 3 meals with them and see how they behave. And that's invaluable. Also people skills. We've signed community service hours. If you just want your kid to actually have people skills, learn how not to stare at those awkward moments, learn how to engage with humor. Those little skills that really come in a long ways, you can gain them at places like a soup kitchen, which is essentially what we are. We at the most basic level, we're running a soup kitchen, and from there, it's community support and case management, and then real tight wraparound of the people who are looking for help. We just strike while the iron is hot. We cannot get them to want help. However, when someone, especially for treatment, for detox, something like that, when they want help, if you tell them no, or say, wait a minute, you've lost them. You need to be ready then. So that's how our program is just to be constantly vigilant.
So people that want to help out needs of the warming center, New Directions, how can people...
So we are open from 4 to 6:30 every night. That's at 601 East Highway 260. Building A, that's Mount Cross Lutheran Church, between Safeway and Speedway, across the street from Tiny's. If you just come in, we'll just give you an application. It asks extra questions like fingerprint clearance. You don't need that. If you have it, it's good to know. We are working with very high trauma people, adverse childhood experience score, ACEs. Many of our clients have ACEs. Lots of our kids have experience of talking about suicide and things like that, and they're not even 10. So if you have that strength to actually be encouraging and sweet to these people who really need it, we have places for you. If you want to help and you just want to fold clothes, that's maybe completely outside your purview. You just want to make peanut butter jelly sandwiches or something, we also need that. We have, you can sit down at the table, we make assemble sandwiches and assemble little to-go bags. And then my wife runs the Confidence Kitchen, and that's out of Mountain Bible. And that is where they get items from the community, and especially from the community garden and from the food banks. Kind of get the cream of the crop of that, and chop it, set it up, and use it for the food prep.
Mhm.
So a dummy like me can just put it in the oven, set the oven on,
There you
and put it out on a plate. Like, it's like, if you have no cooking skills, we need servers every night, especially the weekends.
Uh-huh. And how about donations?
Donations, right now, because of that amazing tent drive put on by the community gardens, we do have tents and we do have sleeping bags. We always need socks. We always need basic men's clothes.
Okay.
So smaller size, like 28 to 34.
Okay.
We're always going through anything unisex that's kind of small. Even when our people come in who are big, they're losing weight quickly because when you're out in the feet all day, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So clothes, socks, we're always going through. That's the number one item at every homeless shelter or initiative or center. And then food stocks. So anything that can go into a soup, anything that can be bulked in, so broth, potatoes, things like that. Every night, those types of things come in handy. Protein bars, pretty much anything that can help people, especially if it has protein, if it's food, that's always key. People prefer that when they're really hungry and hurting.
Oh yeah. Well, Skylar, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing.
Thank you.
And also website. Thank you. Give that,
I think we're going through a new one right now. We're trying to get the warming center up again.
Gotcha.
But I think that right now it's still an old website. So I think it's homelessinitiative.org, and it's not very current.
Okay, and then there's also a Facebook page, New Directions, the Warming Center.
Correct. And the Facebook has the PayPal link, basic stuff like that. And then we are a 501c3. Our P.O. Box is P.O. Box 2732. That's 85547, I believe. And we are available every night. And then you can give us calls at 928-474-3190.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you again, and thanks to everyone involved with the Warming Center, New Directions, all of the board members, to all the volunteers, just everyone that is involved with that, and it's helping people each and every day. So thank you, and thank you everyone for listening. Thank you to Desert Financial Credit Union for sponsoring our Community Spotlight program. Time to get back to the music here, but first let's get a quick update from the National Weather Service.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't ask about the bunk, because it's always hard to clear the verbiage. We've had the bunk open for 6 nights already in the winter, but it's only when it's below freezing for 3 or more nights, or like actually inclement outside. So
Gotcha.
And I have a new thing when people go, "Whoa, guys, it's fine." I pick up my phone and ask for their phone number. And then they don't give it to me. It's really weird. It's like, I thought you wanted to help me.
Yeah. Wait, no, I mean,
you don't want to sit in the bunk for 8 hours with me? I need someone there. Oh, Jen, you're a love bug.
Yeah, he's Jenny.
Where's the name from? A song or?
I don't know. We got him a rescue, and that was just the name Gin, and we're like, okay, J-I-N. We're like, okay. I thought gin like G-I-N first,
like drink,
like gin and juice. Is it like Snoop Dogg? Or, yeah, but it was J-I-N. We're like, all right, we'll just go with that, and.